Hi, in this video, we'll create our first smart contract and deploy it together. So our content is license identifiers in Solidity, Pragma keyword in Solidity, contract keyword in Solidity. Then we'll create our first smart contract on Remix IDE. So what is a license identifier? A license identifier is a shortcode that identifies a specific open source license. In the case of the MIT license, for example, the identifier is MIT. This identifier is often included in the header of a source code file to indicate the licensing terms under which the code is released. So here, what we are gonna do is to basically copy and paste this license identifier line. It's not that important, but it's better if you know what it is doing and why we are using it. Okay, so Pragma keyword in Solidity. The Pragma keyword is used to specify the version of the Solidity compiler that should be used to compile the code. This is crucial since the syntax and features of Solidity can change between versions, and using the Pragma keyword ensures that your code will be compiled using the correct version of the compiler. So here, how we can use this Pragma Solidity keyword. It's basically indicating that, for example, here you can use the versions higher than 0.7.0, or here you can directly specify that, okay, I want to use this specific version. And here what we are doing is to use an interval to specify that I want to use compilers between these versions. All right. So what is contract keyword in Solidity? So the contract keyword is a part of the Solidity programming language, which is used to write smart contracts on the blockchain platforms like BNB Smart Chain or Ethereum. So once a contract is defined using the contract keyword, it can be compiled and deployed to the BNB Smart Chain network, where it can be accessed and interacted with other contracts and external users. It's typically the first line of the code in a Solidity contract. So here, I don't want you to understand anything in this image. What you need to know, we are using contract keyword here. So if you're coming from other programming languages like Python or Java, you might be familiar with class keyword in object-oriented programming. And we are basically doing the same thing. In our smart contracts, we will be creating our functions, our variables, just we did in classes in other programming languages, object-oriented programming languages. So you can think of contracts as classes in Solidity programming language. All right. We have seen what's going on here, but let us create our first smart contract in action. So here I had my Remix IDE, and here under contracts directory, I will create a file called hello world. And since it's a Solidity file, we need to specify the .sol extension. And even though you didn't create it, Remix will create it for you. So here I will just copy and paste the license identifier and Pragma Solidity keyword. So for example, here you could say something like that, just to say, okay, I want to use this specific version. Okay, these two lines will be copied and pasted. If you don't have a specific project working on a specific compiler version, so I recommend using the latest versions of the Solidity compiler since they are more stable. Okay, so let us create our first smart contract. I will use contract keyword and I need to name the smart contract. So let us say hello world. And in this smart contract, I want to create a variable called text, and its content will be hello world. So let's say string public text, which is the name of the variable, and I'm gonna make it hello world. Okay, so here we have public keyword and string keyword. You don't need to know about these keywords. I'm sure if you're coming from other programming languages, you might be familiar with public and string keywords, but I will explain them in another video as well. So here I have a variable called text. This is what we need to know. And I want to get the content of this variable. And to be able to do that, I want to create a function, a getter function. So let's say function, I'm gonna call it get text, and this function will be public as well, and it's going to be a view function, and it's going to return the content of the text. And what's the content? It's a string. So I need to say string, and strings will be stored in memory. So I need to specify that, okay, it's going to be stored in memory, but I will also explain this memory keyword in detail. Okay, so here I've created the signature of my function, and I want to return the value of text here. So here we have view keyword, which is a keyword you might not be familiar from other programming languages, and I will explain it in detail. And we have function keyword. What you need to know, it's a getter function. Okay, and I want to get the value of text here. So it's good, and it's auto compiled because I made it activated. And if it's not activated, you can compile your hello world .sol manually here. Then when it's compiled, I want to deploy my smart contract. And here we can see our smart contract, hello world. When I deploy it, I can see that there's a contract here in the deployed contracts part, and I want to see what's going on here. So there are two functions, get text and text. But the problem is I only created one function to see the content of my variable, and the other function is automatically created since it's a public variable. And I also created this function to show you how to see the content of a variable. So these two functions are basically doing the same thing, so you don't need to confuse about it. So let us see the text. Okay, it's hello world, and this is the function we have created, which is get text, and let us see the content of it as well. Okay, it's hello world. So that's good. We have basically created our first smart contract, and in the next sections we will get into details. So that's gonna do it for this video. I will see you in the next one.